This is Behind the Headlines, with behind-the-scenes analysis on issues affecting Pennsylvanians, sponsored by the Susquehanna Valley Center for Public Policy. Now, here's your host.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Behind the Headlines. I'm Charlie Greenewalt, Senior Fellow at the Susquehanna Valley Center for Public Policy, and we are not joined, as usual, by Maura Donnelly. Maura has the week off, so we'll look for her next time and miss her. But this week we want to talk about some things that are coming up. One of the biggest things that you're going to be running into this summer, of course, is the U.S. Census. And one of the groups that will be affected by that the most will be the Township Supervisors. And we'd like to reintroduce and re-welcome a guest that was with us not so long ago, Dave Sanko. Dave, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
And Dave, you're the new Executive Director of the
Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors.
Okay, and there are how many Township Supervisors?
We have over 10,000 in Pennsylvania.
Now, the last time you were here, you were with the outgoing director, Keith Height, and now you're on your own. You've taken command, and how are things going?
Things are going well. It's a phenomenal organization. It's the largest municipal government organization in Pennsylvania. We're preparing for our spring conference, annual conference down at Hershey. We'll have close to 4,500 participants showing up there. It's the largest trade show and educational conference for local government in Pennsylvania, and phenomenal logistical challenge, but great learning opportunities, great networking opportunities, and our job is to help local governments figure out how to meet their bottom line better.
Well, I have always heard from township supervisors that I know very good things about that conference, that they go there and they learn a lot about the issues, and it's very helpful from that standpoint. I'm sure they all do.
Yep.
The one thing that you've done in your beginning, in your first period of occupancy of this new position, is that you've gone traveling, and we talked a little bit about that last time you were on, that you've gone around the state in a way that few executive directors of statewide associations have ever done that I've heard of. Mm-hmm. And you went out and you visited your members.
I thought it was important to meet with the members, hear what their issues and problems are firsthand, so that we're able to better respond from a customer service standpoint and meet the demands. I've traveled to 28 counties. I will depart tomorrow morning at 5:30 for the county convention in Bucks County, where I most recently spent some time working in county government.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, good to have a good trip. That you'll know a little bit about that neck of the woods. This particular summer, we have the national census coming up.
We do.
And I was wondering, in 2010, you find that these census forms will arrive on all of our doorsteps. How important is an accurate count of the population to your members, all of Pennsylvania's 1,455 townships?
I think it's vitally important for a couple reasons. One, it means money. I mean, there's over $400 billion that's allocated based on census population and demographic figures. But additionally, it's about political clout, as we talk about redefining how many congressional seats Pennsylvania will have, but more importantly, inside of Pennsylvania, how the shift of power is in the state legislature, in the House and Senate, to make sure that the rural, suburban, and urban rural areas are indeed counted well and are not. We don't see more shifting of power to the urban centers.
Mm-hmm. And you find that this census is important because it will create eligibility for federal dollars. What does that mean to your members in terms of what happens if there is a struggle gaining an accurate count? What will that mean to your members?
Well, I think in terms of numbers, we've heard that for each missed person, that it will be account to about $32,000. And that's at all levels. That's for housing, that's for education, that's for transportation, and recreation, emergency management, all kinds of funding levels. So it's critically important to make sure that we're leveraging our fair share of federal dollars and also state dollars that are allocated based on population.
Mm-hmm. The census, though, the data that is yielded, though, that will help township supervisors make better decisions, though, won't it?
I think at the end of the day, it's a tremendous planning tool. You'll get to see your demographic shifts. You'll be able to see where you need traffic lights, where you need new roads, where you need to upgrade your infrastructure, your water and sewer systems, if you're in a community that has that. It helps you meet the needs of your community.
Mm-hmm. How are we going to deal, how will the census and the census takers and the townships and so forth that rely on the information that's garnered, how do you deal with this whole issue of distrust of government? There's more and more talk recently about the suspicion about government, and we have all kinds of conspiracy theorists out
Sure.
there, and this can affect, I guess, just the gathering of information. What can be done to help the townships, or what are the townships going to do to deal with that particular attitude, Dave?
Well, I think first off, the thing that everybody needs to understand is that the census information they fill out is confidential. The people who, and it can't be used for anything other than straight demographic information. The census individuals taker, you'll get a questionnaire sometime around March 15th. You'll have 30 days to return that. You're supposed to do a snapshot of who's in your house on April 1st. That's census day. Anybody who doesn't return that questionnaire by April 15th will get a visit from a census taker. It's important when you're having those visits there will likely be scammers out there. They shouldn't be asking for and won't ask for Social Security. They shouldn't ask for credit card information. If anybody comes doing that, call the local police. The census questionnaire is very simple. It's 10 questions. It'll take 10 minutes, but you got to live with the results for 10 years. So it's a tremendous investment of time. People really need to spend time to fill it out. There is a great distrust of the federal government, but I think one of the reasons that we're stepping up at the local level is that we think local government works best, it's closest to the people, and that local government will be a trusted partner, a trusted communicator with the resident. I think as I walk up and down through neighborhoods and around towns, people will be a lot more comfortable in knowing that a trusted partner like their local government is asking them to fill out the questionnaire and why the information is important.
Mm-hmm. How complicated is this questionnaire to complete? You said, do you think it'll take most average families about 10 minutes to complete?
I can't imagine. I think 10 minutes is probably a little on the high side. It's a very basic questionnaire. For the first time in perhaps in history, there will not be a long form. So there's a single form. Everybody's getting the same one. It's 10 questions for head of household, and then so a follow-up 10 questions for each resident that's living there, and it's simply filling in the black dots on the paper.
Okay, all right. Well, we saw that the governor the other week introduced his budget, and we were wondering if we could have your take on how is this proposed budget going to affect the townships, and how did the late budget that came in last year, very late, how did that influence the townships? Any difference between the two, for example?
Well, I think the budget that was passed late last year was not kind to local government at all. In fact, much of state government passed on making tough decisions and passed some of those mandates without funding onto the local level and attempted to force local government to raise taxes. And I'm pleased and proud that many of our townships were able to resist that. And I mean, they've been doing more with less for longer than anybody can imagine. Mostly because it makes sense and more importantly because the residents know where they live and they'll come and visit them in the middle of the night if they start raising their taxes. So I think they are responsive and they're efficient and they're lean. We saw funding cut in last year's budget for land use training partnerships, shared municipal services, the things that local governments were able to do to be more efficient. The funding was cut for that. So it almost leaves one to believe that there may be a growing or a plan somewhere to, if we take away all their money, they'll have to dry up and go away. I don't think that's going to happen.